adding 500 more houses and the rest of you people who already live here, you're gonna be paying for it. But if they express it that way, I can live with the truth.
The challenge with that discussion becomes, it's not us versus them. It can't be us versus them. The answer is a mix. So even back to our South Point discussion, the answer is a mix of residential, office, and retail. And there's no right or wrong answer in terms of how the services are supported by the tax bases created by those. The mix is always the answer. If you take it in a vacuum and analyze residential development versus office development wins every time. Yes, it's a strain on volunteers because office doesn't generate the volunteers, but from a global standpoint, the resources they demand are much less than residential development.
And I think that's very fair. I just don't think we have that information to make some of these decisions. And also, I mean, I agree with you. You got to look at the big picture, how it affects everybody. So there's going to be winners and losers in every development.
Right.
But on the other hand, if we're hurting for money now and all we do is one, are we at that point where we can say we have enough money coming from this side to cover this side? That's what
So let's come back to the residential development one. We've got poor zoning and traffic identified as other priorities. Is everybody good with those two being priority threats?
I have a question. We have additional housing listed as an opportunity, but then we have too much residential development listed as a threat.
Yeah, I'm coming back to that one. Give me 1 second.
Awesome. Okay.
So is everybody good with traffic and poor zoning as high priority threats? Are there any others on that list other than the residential development that you want to add? Or is there something missing from that list?
Could you clarify the blighted properties under poor zoning, because this is my first meeting here. And I'm not sure whether are we talking about zoning that allows more like the industrial type properties to exist that are blights, or allow for more like rural farms or whatever that some people might call blight? Or I'm not quite sure just what that means, because I'll just say for my business on Georgetown Road, I've got to struggle with some blight up the way, but I don't have an objection to zoning of light industrial. Thank you, Township, for, allowing a 2-acre extension of that so that we could fit our business on our property. And I'm not opposed to the zoning there. I'm just opposed to the light that it is by looking at several properties in there. So I'm not quite sure just what you meant in your last meeting here. And I'm kind of curious because I'd like to clean up, a lot of what's right down in there in that Georgetown and Morganza area right in there. And I'm sure a lot of people would like to as well. So I'm very interested in that.
The discussion about the zoning included the blighted property issues, which relates to enforcement and compatible uses. I'll characterize that item in that discussion generally as land use management. So there's a whole package of tools a municipality can use as the development happens. So that's where the zoning comes in, and then the enforcement, which includes zoning and things like the property maintenance code and code enforcement generally. So there's a whole package there, and the discussion was just about having a finger on the pulse of land use regulations, being active in terms of managing blight issues like you identified, make sure we have a rationale and rhyme or reason behind the zoning, because some zoning conflicts creates issues. So I'm actually going to further explain
enforcement that. There, so I think enforcement, just from my experience, is a really big deal. I mean, I'll just say for my business, and I imagine a lot of businesses in South Point, we're bringing in VIPs from Silicon Valley and high-tech hubs around the nation, for that matter, other parts of the world. And I am so embarrassed. I will not tell them to get off from the Pittsburgh airport at the South Point exit and cut back in there to get to our business. I will tell them to get off at the business, or at the Bridgeville exit, come up Washington Pike into Morganza and turn on Baker Road. Right, cut down to Georgetown.
I understand.
Yep.
I've heard the same complaints.
So the answer there is...
I've heard the same complaints from other businesses and residences.
But to your point,
it affects my business.
And I know exactly what he's talking about, without getting into names, but there's some stuff that is pre-zoned.
Well, it doesn't mean you just throw your hands up. I mean, if the borough if the township has a good plan in place, has the resources to actively manage code enforcement, and has the political backing to prioritize code enforcement, All three of those things have to happen for it to be successful. It's not as easy as you think, but it can happen. Yeah. So we're identifying as a priority. I want to go back and spend 2 minutes before we leave this document that I never anticipated spending this much time
I
on.
think we need to add right of sewage
Sewage.
in some of the older parts of Cecil that don't have sewage.
Some of them still don't have city water.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but I think more of a threat than a weakness,
Okay.
because, if you're gonna buy a house, in
I
an
have
old part.
sewage.
You have sewage?
You got Sam.
Oh, yeah, same amount.
Well, we got people that pipes going.
Yeah.
That's the threat.
That's the threat.
You're self-sufficient and
Making do.
you're making do, but
I'm
you're not generating a threat to the
No,
environment.
I'm not making a threat.
One thing that I thought was important, I know that it's jumping back, but it's to local government. We're in a position now that we're a second-class township, but we have the population, that we could be a first-class township or get it control. Within 10 years, we should maybe ask the township to recommend that we have a committee, because when South Fayette was here, they went first-class township. When Peters Township was here, they went home rule and enacted the second-class township rules with some changes.
I think that's a good point.
I think it's very important because that's where we're going to be. That's where it's going to tell us. where we're
We
gonna be.
considered this maybe 10 years ago, and I think it was a little too early at that
We
time.
didn't have
But I
the
think time's
population.
now come.
But you have to look, if you're going to try to act under a second-class township, when you're really a first-class township,
Right.
where you could be home rule like Peterson Thrive, instead of trying to jam in the rules into the second-class township, that can hold us back. I think I emailed you. I forgot to mention. That's important.
Were there under opportunity then?
I put it under.
Well, in all
Okay.
fairness,
And
there,
not
that's
to
the
jump,
town.
but to somebody sit down and say, or should we grow up and be here, or do we want to lay back and do it slow?
Well, I think once the comp plan is fairly done, and we look at what the plan for the future of the community is, we have to ask that question. Is there anything about the second-class township code that prevents us from implementing our plan? Just because I'm a local government geek, I'm super curious every time. What do you think is limiting about the second-class township code in terms of your future as a community?
What's forbidding, did you say?
What's limiting? What's limiting about the second class? Like, why even talk about going first class?
As a supervisor, supervisors can be road workers automatically. Under a second-class township code, that's not permitted in a first-class township code.
All your employees have to be civil servants.
There are some, so the interesting thing about, and
So
sometimes
there's
it's perception versus
different
reality. The second-class township code, you're right, allows that, and the townships out in the middle of nowhere in Pennsylvania that we've all
Right.
driven through, they're second-class township codes, they're second-class townships most likely. And in those communities, you can have working supervisors. So, I work in communities where the public works director is also a supervisor. So that's one, that's really the, in my, if I had was,
recommending a committee to look at,
Yeah.
not to say right now that
Sure.
but there should be a group. This is where I think it's very important.
I never would envision Cecil going that. I mean, Cecil's too far along. You're never going to have a time when you have a supervisor actually working the roads, but you know. Okay, so we'll identify that as an opportunity. We got to go back to residential development because I honestly do have lots of other items on the agenda. Talk about the too much residential development. It's both a strength and a weakness. So what's the deal with residential development? Last time, I think I made a comment about, this topic inevitably leads to when do you close the gate, right? So let's just throw it out there and be open and honest. We've got a good mix of people here. Some have been here longer than others, and everybody's a resident on equal footing. So, what is the discussion about residential development? And we're not going to answer it tonight, but do we want a whole lot more? Do we want a whole lot less? Do we want denser? Do we want more rural? Do we want all farms? Do we want nobody else to move in now that we moved in?
Yeah.
Yes? Close the gates.
You break that up two ways. Someone buying an acre lot, put a sand on a house is a little different than a 500 house development, which is a business. I don't think they should be treated the same because of the impact on the residents. township. You build one house on 1 acre, it's not gonna affect the school district, it's not gonna affect traffic on the road. But when we let large mega scale subdivisions come in, I think that should be treated sort of in a professional business-like manner, and with the effects.
2 acres.
Okay.
And I realize the whole school thing and the township, like, you know, the schools have different management and everything, but where I live, there's a lot of teachers that live, and they have told me that the brand-new school only has 1 empty classroom left right now. And you're talking this Hahn development coming in, what other developments are going on. So, you know, even though the school district is the school district's problem, it's also the township's problem. Because from what I understand, that school's already full. And it was just built. First year it's over.
That's why
Yes, it's overcrowded already.
That Muse?
originally,
Yeah.
it was supposed to be closed.
I was actually shocked that they even put First Street and
They said there's one open classroom, that's it.
up for sale. I was really shocked when they put them up for, I think, honestly, I'm not privy to anything the school district's talking about, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were gonna put them up for
I'm
sale.
sure they have
They were
some
asbestos.
plan, I don't understand.
To-
I mean,
to-
they're
to be-
required to have a plan.
To be fair, the classroom sizes this year, and this is just plain devil's advocate, because I completely agree with you that the school is pretty full. To play devil's advocate a little bit, the classroom sizes are at 20 kids, they could go up to 25.
Right.
So,
But the,
not that that's a, I don't want that, because I like my
And
children
I'm not fighting with it.
in a smaller
what
classroom
I'm
size.
saying
I'm
is,
just saying.
I don't know the exact numbers, right now they're at 700.
Right, yeah.
But they
it's
can only go to
already-
a max of 9, and what's projected on the books already is going to surpass that,
Right.
that's where I'm at.
But they're not allowed, the school district, when they build, they're not allowed
That's
to
true. That's not
build
true.
for the future. It is true.
No, it's not
They're
true.
only allowed to build for 10%.
No, that's if they don't want to pay for it. That
Your
state only
question-
guarantees.
That's not what they said at the, because I went to all of
I
those
went to the
meetings too.
meetings, I talked to them.
And that's
I
what they said.
researched, no, that's because they're used to doing it type A. If they had, they say, if they really want to go to the people, there was a way to do it. There's always more than one way to do things. That's the easy way to do it. And that's what we do.
No, it's good at this point, so we just have to deal with what we got.
Well,
But your
well,
question
you know,
was,
So let me
the
give
question
you,
was, when do you close the gates?
Right.
So here's the question out there. The families that the farms are no longer, the farms are selling off, because how we're getting the large residential developments are the farms. So where do you cross the line of prohibiting a property owner the rights of their property? Meaning that property owner, so in doing this comprehensive plan, we all went on this committee to look at the whole, not just our own needs. So you need, and I have 11 and a half acres, and trust me, I want my 11 and a half acres, and I have mounds around. I don't want anybody in, anybody out.
Let's see.
But
Right.
if I was, you have families that are no, across the street from me is a property that the people have all passed away and there's distant relatives. They own that property. So we're gonna have just a fine line of, so when do you close that gate? But you have to look at a mixture of that, because if I owned a farm and wanted to sell and that been my retirement, that's my retirement, and then people were coming, no, you can't sell because you.
Yeah, you
And I agree with you on
You
that.
can't prevent people from selling.
hold on,
You
so
can-
let me set the
Just
pace
say
here.
real quick.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, so let me give you a couple of factors. So that was an important point that segues into how do we triangulate on drawing that line? You said fine line, we're never going to draw a fine line, but I get your point. We need to try and draw a line in the sand. And this is the biggest challenge and one of the very specific outcomes of this plan. So a couple of things. Number one, it's a fact that nobody ever really wants to get their head around or understand, but land is a finite resource for every municipality. And when you're built out, you're built out. And undoubtedly, the elected officials 20 years from now that look back and say, why in the world did we build out this way? They're going to blame all of you, so just accept that now. And there's no